Hello and welcome back to DriveDriverDriven. I am Humble, and today it's Christmas. Although by the time you see this, it's probably closer to New Year's or a little after. So Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's, and looking forward to what 2020 brings. Back to our current project, the GBS Zero. I'm working on the suspension, and I wanted to show you guys a few things, kind of give some words of encouragement if you happen to be working on really any project, but particularly it applies to kit cars or anything with many steps of assembly. And just not to get discouraged when you hit some kind of a blocker. We're going to go ahead and get started on the front suspension. I've already kind of pre-assembled our hardware that we'll need. GBS includes this sheet for like the hardware needs for like the front lower control arm, the front upper control arm, etc., all the way down. You can see these are like the bags of hardware that they include with the kit. You grabbed a tape measure just to verify our lengths, but so far I think we're good to go. And what we're going to do first is put our lower arm on and get that in place. So we're going to slide it in like so. And you can see here on the back side, this is where it mounts in the back. And if I scooch the steering rack out of the way, you can see down here the bolt actually goes through this front member, and I believe that is going to be this longer bolt, but for now we'll just get this one in the back. That reminds me, so this was a tip I was going to show earlier and I forgot. So let's see if we can get this back out of here gently. All right, so these crush tubes are a little rough from machining and etc. And what I found is if you take a deburring tool like this, just give it couple rounds there and it'll deburr the edges of the tube, and that helps assembly life go a little bit easier. There, that looks a little better. Let's do the other sides. And then over here. And just like that. So now, before we have it in the car, it goes much easier. So, just a little hot tip for you guys. Just deburr these crush tubes before you put it in the car. There we go. Oh, well, and here's a hot tip for me. Maybe do the same to the eyelets on the mounts that we're going to, because I bet that would make those bolts go in a little bit easier. Again, this one's a little hard to reach under the steering rack. I'll do the same for the other side here. And what we're doing for these guys is we're taking this powder coat off to make it easier to get those bolts to slide in. I don't know how well this shows up on the camera, but you can see we're pulling off a little bit there. And that little bit just makes a difference of getting the bolt in or not. And then these ones up front here are a little more difficult just because of the location of this hole. Oh, it's a little bit better. And we'll do the other side. And just like that. Okay. Now, with 4-part harmony and gusto. There's one. Now, the bolt on this side is a 75mm bolt, and the bolt on the front for the lower control arm is a 100mm bolt. That's the difference between the two. So we're going to take this guy and we'll slide it in from the back. And that's just in there temporarily. Hopefully that's enough travel. You can see the arm hitting the body up there. But you can see we have some space here. And actually, maybe we'll just pull the rack out of the way for the moment. There we go, just like that. That'll make it a little bit easier to see what we're doing. So, like I said, up here, you can see we have a little bit of gap between this flange and the arm itself. Same thing back here. There's a little gap here, gap here. So what we're going to do is attempt to fill those with some washers, if we can. See if we have a little more luck here than we did in the back. Oh. All right, there's one. Let's see if we can get 2 washers in the front here. Well, we can get 1 in there. And I did it all wrong anyway. So on our bolt, I put this wide washer in against the head. What we actually need is one of these guys. So anywhere there's, I'll just use this for instance, when you have the bolt that slides through and we have our bolt on metal, like the metal support or what have you, you want to use one of these little washers. So when you have a bolt up against a bushing like this, you want to throw it onto the ground. Now you want to slide it in, and you want to use one of these larger washers that spreads the load across the face of the bushing. And you don't need that same larger washer against the metal surface. It's just useless there basically. So I needed to correct that. So let's grab this guy again, put it in the back, put it in the back, there we go, and slide it through, and then again grab one of these washers for the other side and our lock nut. And there we go. So we have this one done. Something I may come back to is, you can sort of see on this guy, I don't know how well that shows, but it sits a little proud of the bearing surface or the bushing surface. I may come back through these and knock it down so it's flat with the face of the bushing surface, sort of like this guy. They're not all perfect, and I may need to come back and revisit those, so we'll see. But I'm not really happy with this little gap here, and I mentioned before that when you see little gaps like this one, that turns into noise when you're driving around, and that's sort of a detriment to your kit car, I would say. The whole idea of, to me, for a kit car is it's a self-assembled car. But these negative connotations associated with kit cars are, they're smelly, they're noisy, they rattle, they're not very safe, you know, on and on and on. And a lot of that has to do to build quality. And, you know, personally, it's up to each and every individual builder to kind of push the quality that they're after. You have, you know, some people who will go in and do, you know, just good enough. And that, I think, really shows in the end quality of a build. Is it was, you know, I did what was sufficient to get the job done. If we can get this in here, there we go. Versus if you take the time, the care to put, you know, solid quality in your build and solve the little problems that arise while you're building, versus, you know, waiting for the end product to, oh, I finally got it on the road, and then I realized that that bushing squeaks, versus, oh, I could have done something about that while building the car. You know, that all turns up in the end result. I just want to just widen that gap enough that we can get these washers in there and then close it all up together. And drive it home. Just like that. See, that was easy. Now we'll grab one of our little washers, grab our lock nut, and we're done. So now we will do our front shock. And if I remember right, the fat spacer goes on the front, the thin spacer goes on the back. Helps if we grab a bolt and a washer. I'll slide that in there. That's our top mount. And then for our bottom, I don't think this is the right bolt, but we're going to use it temporarily just to hold up the lower arm until I can find the correct bolt. Now we're going to do our top upright. So we want it to go this way. And it goes in like so. Wish I'd remembered to tell that guy from earlier to hit these top ones while he was at it. We have our arm. Well, actually, before we do that, let's... Hey, look at that. That's so easy. All right. Just put this one in nice and easy. Let's figure this one out. So we'll do the bolt and one washer if we can squeeze it in there. Which we can, all right. Get the arm in place. Oop. Back it out a bit. You can get one washer in there. Can we get two washers in there? Oh, we can. There we go. We'll tap it home. Grab another small washer, grab our lock nut. That one's done. All right, now, all right. Sometimes life calls for power tools. Actually, let's grab that guy and this guy. No, it's like magic. All right, slip that washer. Nice and easy. Grab two more of these guys. Grab one more of these guys. See if we can work it down in there. Save time. Hammer the screws in. All right. We forgot the little washer. All right, so second time, same as the first. There we go. Grab our little washer. Grab our lock nut, which just clears the body. And there we go. We have our front arms mounted. Now for the awesome part. So this awesome piece of kit is the machined front upright from GBS. I've been waiting to show this off. So this knuckle, this Ackerman corrected steering arm, this lower mount, all of this stuff except for this insert bearing and this guy here are all machined in-house from GBS, from Great British Sports Cars. This is their ATR upgraded front knuckle, and just look how amazing that is. It is a very, very beautiful, very stout, well-engineered piece. And as you can see, it mounts with our Heim bushings. We have our spacers top and bottom. And the way this mounts is, this is actually the bottom down here, and our calipers face the back of the car. So we're going to take this guy off first. We're going to put it through our... And presto, the suspension's done. Yeah, you guys, sorry, the battery died. And I'm not sure where I was when the camera shut off, but I believe I was putting on the knuckle here. I've got the suspension on. As you can see, I've done the other side as well. Same thing, the same kind of knuckle, 4-pod caliper, adjustable suspension, all that is the same. While the camera was charging, I did go ahead and take all the arms off, and you can see now that I've got 2 washers in here, whereas we could only get 1 in before. Likewise, down in here, we got 2 in there, and then we got 3 like we were supposed to on this side. And what I had done is I took all the arms off, and I burned off a little bit of the bushing that was sticking through. So I demonstrated before how this is proud just a little bit. It sticks out just a little bit. So what I did is I pressed this inner bushing out just a little bit, this crush tube, sanded it down so to take a little bit off of it, and then pressed it back in so that it was then flush with the bushing surface on either side. And I went and did that for all the arms on the front. I have yet to do it for the rear arms, but I'll get to those later. For today, though, I just wanted to get the front suspension done and on the car. And to really loop back around to what I said in the beginning, which is that it doesn't matter if you hit a blocker or you can't finish the project you're working on. Just move on to the next one and then come back to it later. There are so many little projects to do when you're building a car or undertaking anything, really. And if you just can't finish the one you're working on, move on to the next and complete that one. And then just circle back later on down the road. And that's it. Like, don't get discouraged when you can't make progress on the thing you wanted to do. And that's really all I wanted to say. It's really easy to get discouraged, I think. And maybe it seems daunting to some folks to, undertake a whole car for a project, but it's just little things, like little kind of Lego steps. Just put the front corner together, put the other front corner together, put the rear corners together, put the steering wheel in, put the engine in. Just little by little, eventually you'll end up with a car. And you can cut any project down to size just by looking at its component steps. So I guess all in all, take it to heart. Don't get discouraged, and keep on keeping on, really. So I guess that's going to do it for today. Pardon all my sniffling. It's California cold here. It's in the low 50s. I know that's shorts weather for some folks out there, but that's cold for here. So I think that's going to do it for today. I just wanted to get that front suspension knocked out. Like I said, hit a blocker in the rear, managed to get the front done. We're just kind of bouncing around one thing to another to do what we can when we can. Next up, I don't know what's next up. I guess we'll sort that out next video. But like I said, we got a bunch to do, and we'll take it one step at a time. So for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.